Hi, everyone. My name is Aries Pickett, and I am the head of HR at the National Women's Soccer League. And celebrating diversity for me means celebrating representation, representation in race and culture and all type of backgrounds, and really understanding that we are all different and we have different perspectives, different experiences that should be recognized, it should be acknowledged, it should be celebrated, and most importantly, welcome. So true diversity is true representation for me.
Again, my name is Yewande Balogun. I am currently the assistant women's soccer coach at UC Davis. And I guess celebrating diversity means, like, to me, is just seeing the differences in the people around you and loving and accepting them, not just in spite of, but because of those differences. I think we as a society got into this habit of talking about tolerance, and the idea of, who someone is should be tolerated is like really important to me, actually. So, I mean, I think just celebrating it just means loving and accepting those differences and encouraging everyone to live in who they are each day.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Chanel Wiese. I have the privilege to serve as the executive director of the Somos Unidos Foundation down here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. And I have to echo a lot of what Yewande said. It goes past tolerance and acceptance, and celebrating diversity should be a true embrace of each other and what we have to bring to the table, and really listening to other people's stories and appreciating that all of our backgrounds and perspectives are, baked through from an entire lifetime of where we come from and who our families are and the experiences that we have. And so a celebration of diversity is about listening and honoring that story in the people that we work with and the people that we serve, especially in a community standpoint where I do my work.
Yewande, I'd love to go back to you as we lead into our next questions. And as a follow-up, as a Black woman working in college soccer, I would love to hear how you celebrate diversity just in your own work.
Yes, I think, as a coach, just in general, I think the game can really just be an expression of who you are. So for me, it's just about creating space for anyone I come across in the game, my players, other people I'm coaching with, creating that space for them to be their full and authentic selves, and also really doing it myself. I think too many times we have this idea that we have to keep parts of who we are separate from our work. And again, as a Black and Nigerian American woman, that's never stopped me from being good at what I do. But I know other people might look at me and think that I may be, because I'm educated or, whatever, in these positions, that I'm the exception or I'm other, not knowing that people, I might, or someone I know could be in positions that maybe they only ever, hear about or think about. So I think just really because of that, I tried to not stifle parts of who I am, that might be seen as unprofessional, whether that's how I wear my hair or how I might choose to speak. So I think it's just really showing up fully and allowing that space for others to do the same.
Yeah, wonderful. I think being your authentic, true self could be sort of a lead-in to women in soccer and what we're doing here in a celebration of diversity. So I think that's perfect. Aries, I'd love to send it over to you. You are working in HR for the National Women's Soccer League, obviously a league I know pretty well. And we had some good conversations over the last week talking through your role. I'd love to hear, as somebody specifically in HR, what you're doing in particular, but also NWSL as a whole in regards to diversity and how you can continue pushing that conversation in your own role as somebody in HR.
No, absolutely. NWSL is definitely committed to focusing on creating a diverse and inclusive environment for our players and for our front office staff. Currently, the league is working on rolling out a robust DEI, diversity and inclusion program for 2021. And it's going to touch on social justice, gender inequality, equity, and all of the sensitive subjects that concerns our players and our staff. And it's just not something that we want to be a checkbox and say, hey, that this is something that we implemented, we're done. But a program that has sustainability and importantly, impactful to everyone. So that is what we are currently working on. On the HR side, as I recruit, I always make sure that representation is in our candidates, that they have an opportunity to go for positions that we offer. So that's something that I'm definitely committed to. And another thing, in long term, what I'm currently working on and what's on my agenda is creating training and development opportunities for our staff, but mainly also an opportunity for minorities, because, you know, companies, they hire minorities just to meet a quota, but, you know, I noticed that there's a huge disparity in minorities in leadership. And so I want to be able to create a program where we can create a career path for minorities not to be stuck in a position, but to elevate and to grow into the managers, the directors, and have them a part of a C-suite. So that's something that I am working on, and an agenda that I plan to push within the league.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you for your leadership in that, Aries. You're certainly somebody that I look to as well, in terms of some of the practices that you're implementing. Chanel, I think this is a perfect segue to go from that into, tell us about the Diversity Fellowship program that you've helped launch at New Mexico United. I think that parlays really well into what Aries was just saying there.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. We were really excited this year that with the launch of our foundation in May, we were also able to develop this signature program in partnership with our male allies at New Mexico United as well, who have been champions for the concept as well. And so what we are doing is we basically looked at our industry and our league, and noticed the disparity in the representation of women and people of color in leadership positions, both on the front office side and on the coaching side of the business. And so while diversity, equity, and inclusion can be a huge issue to tackle on your own, we're just trying to look at the next best thing that we can do, which I think is a great message for anybody who's looking to learn more and do more in this space. Somebody wise once told me just to look for the next best action you can take, and that's what we're doing. So we're inviting candidates for a fellowship into our business, where they can take a rotational on the front office side or an intensive with our coaching staff, where they're discussing their coaching philosophy and doing some practical applications, and a reverse shadowing where our coaches will actually attend some of their practices. And what it is an ability to have, for many people, this could be the first thing on their resume that has to do with athletics. So we're trying to invite more people in and then give them a launch pad to take the next step in their career. The fellows that come through our program in 2021 will receive a stipend at the end of their fellowship to help them pursue the next step, either in maybe it's a digital marketing certification, or that coaching licensure next step, which we know the financial barriers to the coaching licensure can be really disparately affecting women and people of color, and discouraging them to join us in the beautiful game. So I think it's really aligned with the mission of Women in Soccer as well.
Yeah, I know I've already reached out to Chanel to get all the insight on this program, because I think it's incredible and something that certainly can be replicated across multiple teams. I know we're tight on time due to the video fiasco earlier, so I want to do a quick just kind of round robin with our last minute with each member of our panel, and hopefully we can do another panel to go further in depth on all of this at some point. But I'm going to do a quick, if we can kind of keep our answers to around a minute on everybody. Aries, I'm going to go back to you to start with. I know you had a kind of live example, and it was compelling to me when we talked in our conversation. So I'd love for you to share that with the group.
Absolutely. And I just want to talk about, in regards to what you said, an example of my impact in influencing the decision to officially make Juneteenth a paid company holiday, not just for 2020, but indefinitely, and the impact that I had on that. So first I want to shout out to our commissioner, Lisa Baird, for really being the force behind that and inviting me into the conversation and just the decision process. It was such of a great impactful moment for me, because I was then allowed the responsibility to educate and to explain to our staff why this day is important, why we should celebrate it. And it's just not a day just to be for a paid holiday. And coming from a company where Martin Luther King wasn't even celebrated, and being a part of an organization where that day is celebrated, and now we're celebrating Juneteenth as the only African American at the time being a part of this league, that made me feel so proud because I was seen, I felt heard, and I felt recognized. And, the fact that, the commissioner wanted my buy-in, wanted me to get the opportunity to communicate and explain the importance of this day. It was just a very, very impactful. So it's more where that came from. Like, I'm just so happy to be, I get chills thinking about that because it was so important for me as an African American. And we're doing big things, we're pushing for change, and it's more where that came from. And I'm so excited again to be a part of the league and to be in the position where I can influence decisions such as that.
I'm biased, but well done, NWSL. I like
Thank you.
Yewande, I'm going to bring it back to you for your quick minute here, but you're a member of the UC Davis DEI advisory committee. Tell us a little bit about how that works with students and how you're really promoting inclusion through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. So the DEI Advisory Committee, essentially, it consists of student athletes, coaches, and staff dedicated to creating an environment of equity and mutual respect, specifically for our student athletes, but within athletics as a whole and, the entire Davis community. So, student athlete representation comes from our Student Athlete Advisory Committee, comes from our Coalition for African Diaspora Student Athletes, and Athlete Ally, which champions inclusion for the LGBT community. So to give you an idea, some of the work we've done this year was we've created a hub for anti-racism resources for student athletes, staff, the community, and also coping and trauma resources for those who are directly affected by racism. And currently we're working on adding courses within athletics surrounding LGBT inclusion in athletics. So for us, it's really just about giving our student athletes that platform to have a voice. They're more than athletes, and a way for us to kind of say, we see you, we hear you, and you belong here. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's rad to see all of this in live action and all of your inclusion within that. Chanel, I hope you can bring us home here. And I know this could be a much longer conversation, but obviously you work for Somos Unidos Foundation through New Mexico United, but through that you also came up with Somos Unidos. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a great parallel to what women in soccer and all the amazing leaders on this call are trying to do. We, as women who work for New Mexico United, came together earlier this year kind of in an unexpected way and created a group and a time for us to spend time together and talk about our personal and professional goals and challenges. And it was life-changing for me to see and be seen by the other women in the office in a different way, and to put those guards down and connect with each other. And what that took, and what I hope, we'll all do after this kickoff today, is that the spirit of bringing people together and a spirit of sisterhood and knowing that power only grows when you give it away. And I think we've established something really beautiful at New Mexico United in order to do that. And I look forward to what women in soccer is going to do in the same way. I am super honored to be on this with you all today. Thank you, Yewande and Aries, for telling your story and for all the amazing work you do. And I appreciate everyone being here. I can't believe there's 216 people on the call. This is so exciting. And let's just all try to take the next best action that we can do to pass the torch on for somebody else who might not have a voice.
Love that. Well said, Chanel. Thank you again, Yewande, Chanel, Aries. A little silent round of applause in the background since we can't see or hear all of you, but really, really inspired to be a part of this with you all.